Hey Gemini, welcome to April. So you didn't get a reading last month and I'm really sorry. I was out of town, I was traveling, and then I lost my voice. It was a whole thing. I just got it back, so hopefully this reading makes up for it. Lots going on. Okay, so if you're new here, I read intuitively. We'll talk about the astrology as we go. It does not matter your Gemini placement. There will be something here for you. Sun, moon, rising, whatever. There's something here for you. I speak from the first house perspective, and that's the reason I'm explaining this to you. So, I hope you had a good March. Mars finally moved out of your sign, so that's cool. Okay, first card, the Seven of Wands. Interesting. Let's get some more out for you before I start talking about all the astrology. The Knight of Cups. One more. Gemini. Oh, two more. We have the Judgments in reverse and the Hermit. Okay, so looking at your astrology for April, the first thing I had come to mind was this full moon happening in Libra on the 5th. It's also in your 5th house for you Gemini risings. So what came to mind when I saw the full moon in your 5th house is your habits, okay? It's going to really highlight. So if you have really good habits, it's going to be highlighted. If you have some not so great habits, it's going to be highlighted. Okay, and that's what I think this is about, this Hermit and the Judgment. Okay, this is very much a little bit of self-criticism, either from yourself or others. It's looking like a bit of a block, but we'll talk about that. Okay, the Seven of Wands and the Knight of Cups. This is giving me... It's such a defensive and an open energy. This is such a Gemini energy, right? Like up and down. One twin is this way, the other is the other way. Interesting. The sun right now is in your 11th house. So I feel like everything you're kind of doing is a little bit public. Maybe not everything, but you might have a public image that causes you to defend certain things, either about the way you are or the way you show up. I was gonna say love, but I don't think this Knight of Cups is necessarily that. Okay, it's something about the way you show up for things. And I see you standing your ground with this, okay? So standing your ground with that, why, Gemini, is there such criticism? I'm gonna have to pull some more cards for you. We'll get into the astrology later. Let's talk about your energy right now. I think Mars moving into your 2nd house has possibly made you a little possessive, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's what you're possessive about. Okay, what I'm getting is there's some criticism coming from people who opinion you don't value. And I'm not judging. My Vedic rising is a Gemini, and that's why I can just talk. So I trust that you're staying with me in this conversation. So I see you standing your ground about the way you do things and not really wanting to budge. Here's the thing is I feel like you're getting criticism, okay? And this is where the block comes in, is regardless of if it's right for you, it could be a good suggestion, but I feel like you're blocking it just because of the mouth that it came from. Does that make sense? Like, yeah, you're right, but I'm not that you said it, like, you said it, so I'm gonna keep doing what I do. Kind of like you're running with something even after it's not working. And no judgment from me. This is a safe place. Listen, you're fine. um, but yeah, let's talk about this. I always have such interesting things come out of my mouth when I'm reading you. Last month, Saturn moved into your 10th house. Okay, we have all right, we have the Justice in reverse. I feel like this around the full moon, okay, this full moon is going to be kind of big for you. I feel like a lot of pivots are going to happen for you around the 5th of the month. Okay, maybe even if we don't want to admit it, maybe they're a little bit right. And I feel like you're getting stuck on the fact that you could do things differently for yourself, not for other people. None of this is to appease other people. Okay, let me just lay that down. But if you have someone criticizing you and the way you do things, even if their opinion doesn't mean much to you, the concept of what they said is kind of like eating at you. It's kind of like gnawing at you in a way. Like, how could they think that? How could they say that? Blah, blah, blah. And maybe it is totally bogus. I'm not giving them any like real credit here, okay? But the holding on to it, okay, and see, I can speak in concepts to you because you get it. I can't talk to every sign like this. So it's not what they said. It's, initially it's where it came from. And hopefully this isn't posed upon by yourself. Sorry if that didn't come out right, but you get it. Imposed upon on yourself, because you definitely should be treating yourself like much better than that. And I don't think, I'm not getting that's what this is. So conceptually, it's like you're thinking of what was said, where it came from, and how does that even apply to you, but something's sticking to you. Let's talk about that. What's sticking to you? Okay. This is a star. This could have a lot to do with Pluto moving into Aquarius for the first time in since like hundreds of years. I'm not exaggerating, but Pluto did just move out of Capricorn for the first time in 15 years. So you might be looking to an old version of yourself for answers that only this new version of yourself has. All right. Lots of major arcanas, lots of big changes. Aquarius is your 9th house. So, okay, your house of higher knowledge, moving forward, your personal evolution. Yeah, that's what this is. This has a lot to do with Pluto, okay? And Pluto only touched 0 degrees of Aquarius, right? However, it's not in Capricorn anymore. And so you are going to see signs of these changes. These are long-term things. And I think maybe some of the long-term changes have been a little bit unsettling. Okay, maybe in places where you've been very comfortable and now this transit's causing you to not be so comfortable in those old places because you're evolving, okay? We're just getting better all the time. And so it really brings a strain to what's not working. Saturn's in your 10th house along with Neptune. So you could be trying to convince yourself right now of something that has worked so well for so long, and there might be some resistance in letting go. Okay, and that's human, that's normal. I'm not gonna encourage you to stay in old patterns because what was old or what's comfortable isn't always what's best, okay? something worked for you for a really long time, and now it's like you're just getting upgraded, okay? So, ease up on the defensiveness a little bit, or just withdraw yourself, first of all. If you have somebody criticizing you all the time, withdraw yourself, okay? You don't need to constantly be defending yourself, but really think about it. Moving forward, how do you want to move? What doesn't work anymore? And this requires a level of honesty that you can absolutely have with yourself. I think Geminis are amazing at looking at things objectively. Definitely when it's other people, but again, the human condition, we can have a little bit of resistance doing that within ourselves. But that's really what I see, is some monumental changes, shifts, all of that happening for you. Let's talk more about that, because it is Aries season and we're being very upfront with ourselves and others. The Eight of Wands in reverse. Okay, so I see you doing some past revision. Okay, maybe there's some things that have been going on over the past 15 years, themes that you are revisiting and going, well, it worked for so long, why doesn't it now? Okay, this is also a lot of Mars in your second house, because you're growing, because this new version of you that is coming to be requires this of you now. I see you revisiting things from the past, okay? And if you don't have a journal, definitely get one, because some of these conversations are going to be hard. It's going to be hard if you need to have a conversation with someone about all of the things, okay? A journal will give you the grace that you deserve, okay? It's not going to go behind your back and criticize you, but it gives you a tangible item to reflect on and also just get it out of you, okay? It's very balancing. It's pretty grounding also. I prefer journaling. You could even speak into your phone, record a conversation with yourself just to get it out, okay? Just to vocalize your thoughts right now for clarity, okay? I do see you with the Hermit, like going in and really doing some inner work. Okay, the Hermit is not to be underestimated. Like, this is deep stuff. This is, it's also a little critical, okay? So be careful not to be so hard on yourself. Mars in your second house might have you, it's like, I want it now. Like, why can't I just, and you can change very quickly, but there's something to be said for taking your time with yourself and just being thorough. You deserve that, okay? Don't think of this as something you have to rush through, especially if someone else is putting pressure on you. Honestly, fuck them. That's just what came through. Don't you love me? Seven of Cups. Yeah, okay. Clarity. That, if you find yourself in a bubble of confusion this month, if you're just kind of like overwhelmed with all the things, there is clarity coming. And I think you're going to find a lot of clarity creating a very intimate practice for yourself. Okay. This Libra full moon Libra is really a sign that has so much to do with relationships. This is also the Libra card, this Justice in reverse. So I think what April's calling from you is this deeper relationship within yourself. This part that people can eventually, as humans are, everybody's always got something to say. Like, okay, story time. Or let me divert from what we were talking about. Diverge, whatever. I'm always messing up my words. The Last of Us. Do you understand how much I love the video game. I watched the playback like more than once, all of it, both of them, the 1 and 2, and then they came out with the HBO series this year, and so many people complained. Personally, I loved it. I think they did an excellent job at all of it, captivating like the feelings and the emotions, and like I think it's a wonderful piece of work. Okay, there's still people out there, there's people that were pissed about the casting before anything was filmed. So there's always gonna be those people. Okay, and so your job right now, Gemini, is to become this newer version of yourself, okay, Gemini 2.0, that can handle this next level of criticism. Again, I'm not telling you to put yourself in like toxic situations or where you're always stressed, strained. But let's be honest, you're a very quick moving sign. You're a mutable air energy, and like it really takes something kind of cutting to get to you like this. Okay, so you might want to like revisit it just to like sort of not to get pissed about anything that's happened, but just to like sort of find some closure within yourself. I'm not telling you to have any of these conversations with other people, especially if they're like that. Like honestly, just like I said, screw them. But when you're feeling this way within yourself, as a Gemini, like it's gonna start affecting things like your relationships, things like your work, things like all of that, okay? Because here are these concepts just floating around all over. And if you're questioning who you are, you know, it's temporary. I don't see that being the long-term part of like this Pluto transit. Anyway, what do you need to know? So I hope that summed it up. What do you need to know before I leave here? Oh, yes. I do see you gaining super clarity. Okay, you are going to be back on top, and you're going to have the flex to show for it, if that's the type of Gemini you are. Okay, we have the King of Swords and the Queen of Pentacles. Mars is going to help you in any financial endeavor that you have right now. Okay. Also, be careful with your spending. For you Gemini risings, I personally have Mars in the second house, and I've always had to be very careful with my money because I can spend really quickly. It's just a thing of Mars, okay? Be careful with your money. You know where you're investing, know what's coming in, sort of get clear on like your finances, because that might be where some of the confusion can come from. That's not a problem you want. It's something you can avoid. So take the time to clear up any financial confusion or anything you foresee happening before it happens. And save. Not to sound like, you know, too motherly, but save. There is a solar eclipse that I want to talk about before we go, and that's also happening in your 11th house, okay? So all of these things happening earlier in the month are going to be like a spotlight on the 19th, right? Before we move into Taurus season. And that 12th house stuff we'll talk about. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell notifications, because I want you to be here for what happens in like the 12th house stuff during Taurus season. We can get a little bit wonky when there's planets in our 12th house and you've already had Uranus there. Okay, Mercury's moving there on the 3rd of April. So you might just want to, you know, like I said, write, record yourself, maybe not have so many outside conversations if they're feeling tense and things like that. Because I want these things, I want all of these events to go in your favor. And that's why I'm telling you these things and giving you these dates. I forgot to tell you. Venus moves into your sign on the 10th. So if you haven't been feeling yourself, around the 10th, you're going to start feeling yourself a lot more. Venus is a very lovey sign, and also I think it's just what you need. I think it's the boost of confidence that you need to get you through any like past stuff that's lingering or kind of, clinging to you that you kind of just want to clean up. If this is your first Saturn return, also, don't feel embarrassed by things you used to do. You're not alone. Don't just be very gentle with yourself. And yeah, I don't blame you for the Seven of Wands coming out as the first card. Like, you might have to put up a little bit of a protective aura to not let outside things affect you too much right now. However, I think you're more than capable of being very real with yourself. And Aries season looks like a time of you just getting back on track and building up your confidence a little bit more. I see you really finding a new footing by the time Taurus season rolls around at the end of the month. Okay, Mercury will go in retrograde on the 21st, the day after the sun moves into Taurus. Again, that's your 12th house stuff. So yeah, build a solid relationship with yourself to where if some of these connections like fall away, you're good, you're solid, and it's not causing like any type of self-sabotage or self-doubt or any of those yucky feelings, okay? Those wonky feelings that can come with the 12th house stuff. If you need a personal reading, I'm always here too. You can find me on all my socials. I'll put everything below. When you get a personal reading with me, I just want to tell you, you don't have to be present for it. And that is because everyone's schedule's all over the place all the time, including my own. And so when you get a reading with me, you purchase a reading on my website, gelatotarot.com. You email me at gelatotarology.com, and that way I have your email. Okay, I will do your reading much like this. Sometimes it's like this. Sometimes I show more of the cards. It really just depends on the day and what feels right. And if you have any questions, just email me. It's a one-woman show over here, so you're going to get a response from me same day probably. But basically, I'll record the reading and send it to your email when I'm finished. And then you can watch it as many times as you want, and we're not limited that way. And I just really like it. It runs really smooth, and that's what we do here. So if you need any help with any of this, I'm available. I love you, Gemini, and I hope you're doing well, and I believe in you. Everything's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be more than great.